So in Fort Lauderdale, there was 4 cops who were fired over horribly racist text and video that they had put out there. Their names are Alex Alvarez, Jason Holding, James Wells, and Christopher Sousa. They range in age from 22 to 31. They're cops in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to read you some of the stuff that they did. We've got a little bit more detail than when we first covered the story, but mainly the video has come out now. The video they did that had the KKK hood in it, etc. In some ways, it's a little worse than I anticipated. We already knew the N-words were going to be in there, but some of the pictures of dogs attacking black people is unbelievable. So I'll get to that in a second, but first let me give you some context here. We told you about the terrible text they had sent before. Let me give you a part of the reporting from the New Times, Broward Palm Beach here. Sousa, one of the cops, was found to have texted Holdings, that's the other cop, "We're coming and drinking all your beer and killing niggers." Sousa later said he did it to fit in on the force and that he regretted using the terms. He said his best friend since 3rd grade is black. Okay. So, hey, I was just trying to fit in by hating all the niggers. That's not really a good defense. And second of all, that leads us to believe that the problem might be a little larger than Fort Lauderdale. If that's what a young officer on the job thinks he has to do to fit in, if you take him at face value. Second of all, now you're going to go tell that really good friend of yours from 3rd grade that that's what you call him behind his back? Well, have you been telling him that all along? Yeah, I didn't think so, right? So then we go to one of the other officers, Wells. Wells texted the word niggers and nigger lover dismissively and also razzed Alvarez by calling him a faggot. Of course, why not insult everyone on the planet while you're at it? He called some of his coworkers lazy fucks. He was referring to the African Americans, of course, and used the term retarded brown. So that one I'm not sure refers to African Americans or Latinos. It seems like they're ready to insult everybody on the planet, including their coworkers, their colleagues who are also cops who happen to be black. So, they like to say, oh no, it's just a tough job out there and sometimes we get attacked. No, it's not just about the people that you're policing. You don't like any black people, including black cops who you call the N-word behind their back. So the fact that 2 of them happen to be Latino doesn't excuse any of this. It's such an incredibly stupid argument to say, no, they couldn't have been racist against blacks because they're Latinos, just like George Zimmerman. That's insane. And second of all, you're also calling Latinos, I think, retarded brown, and other reporting has indicated that they did use racial slurs against Latinos as well. And so the fact that 2 of them are Latinos maybe gives them an excuse against other Latinos. I mean, not against other Latinos, but at least in regards to themselves, 2 white guys don't have any excuses. They're insulting everyone on the planet. Okay. Now, if you're thinking, well, look, man, these guys, the stupid Fox News excuse, they listen to rap music. There's no indication of that whatsoever. That's where they got it from. It's black people's fault. They're the ones who introduced that language. Besides, they're just being friendly, and this is their way of talking behind the scenes. Okay, all right, well, I'll give you one more text to see if you still think that. Jason Holding writes, I had a wet dream that you 2 found those niggers in the VW and gave them the death penalty right there on the spot. Does that sound like kidding, ha-ha, among friends? You think the guys in the VW were his friend? Did he know them since 3rd grade? I don't think so. Now, you're going to get the full context when you see the video that Alvarez put together. It's in the form of like a movie trailer, and it depicts them as, in some weird way, like I guess they think they're the good guys by attacking black people with dogs and all the other things that they're going to show here. They look like the bad guys in the movie trailer, but I guess they get off on that. Here, watch for yourself. They called themselves the Hoods of Death. And in case it was unclear, through all the N-words that were used in that trailer, they put a KKK hood in the video so you knew where they were coming from. They compare themselves to the guys who ran slaves in the movie Django Unchained. And they have all the pictures of black people being attacked and brutalized, and they viewed it as like, ha ha, that's what we're going to do to them. And this isn't just theoretical. It's not like they worked in a white neighborhood or a Latino neighborhood and they happen to hate blacks. No, they policed a predominantly black neighborhood. So this is what they were excited about doing. Now, luckily in this case, they've already been fired. It's a good question as to whether one of them, Sousa, who said that this is the culture of that police department, I was just trying to fit in. That's a good question. Maybe somebody should investigate that. And for all the people who say, oh, what are black people complaining about? Today there was an article in the Washington Post saying liberals should get over Ferguson already. It's their Benghazi. You think this is fake? This is what black people have to deal with all the time. I'm sorry that you Washington Post columnists don't have to deal with it, don't know anything about it, and the cops treat you perfectly fine. But how could you not see that this is the reality for a lot of African Americans in the country? You'd be crazy not to be frustrated over it, not to do protests over it. Of course you should exercise your rights as an American to make sure that this stuff changes. Look at what they got to deal with. This is not a one-time thing. We've now shown you case after case where African Americans are killed when they're unarmed, when they haven't done anything, when they've got toy guns, no guns, even when they're naked. And then we've shown you cases where cops in LA shoot unarmed black guys and then get rewarded millions of dollars for doing that. And now you've got this video and these texts. When is it going to get through to you that maybe the African Americans have a different perspective, and in their perspective, these are the guys who are supposed to be policing them and patrolling their neighborhoods? Does it look like community policing to you? No, it looks like they view blacks in this country as the enemy. It's hard not to get frustrated by that. It's hard not to want change when you see this, real change.
Wilmington, North Carolina cops were caught on a police audio recording saying a new civil war was necessary to wipe black people off the map, longing to, quote, start slaughtering them and using the N-word repeatedly. Quote, I can't wait, God, I can't wait. More from a local news report on this.
Transcriptions from a video recorded on one corporal's onboard camera show these three men used racist language. Some of it so vulgar we won't repeat it on TV. Some of it is violent towards African Americans. Officer Michael Piner, Corporal Jesse Moore, and Officer James Gilmore are all being fired. The police department says these conversations were discovered internally as part of a regular monthly review of video footage. Much information is again being made public that ordinarily would not be in the name of transparency. During this afternoon's press conference, Chief Williams quoted District Attorney Ben David in saying, it's unacceptable.
I'd say this is shocking. It's just angering more than anything. But it's not shocking. This is what happens when you heavily militarize the police department, so much so that it, attracts high school bullies with racist intentions. They see themselves as an occupying force in black communities, and that's why they see it as an us versus them thing. So yeah, they're really going to serve the community when they see black people as the enemy in a civil war. I mean, it's just vile, disgusting. I'm glad that they were fired, and no police department obviously should ever employ them again. So many people harbor these thoughts, but cops have the ability to act on them. And when you, again, have a profession that allows you to play cowboy and tote a gun and get to feel really strong and put on a uniform and lord over people, specifically black people, which cops know that that's what they're able to do, and you make that the incentive structure, what do you know? You attract vile, bully racists who say things like this. More on this story from the Washington Post. Sitting in his patrol car in Wilmington, North Carolina, Officer Michael Kevin Piner predicted Black Lives Matter protests would soon lead to civil war. I'm ready, Piner told another officer, adding that he planned to buy an assault rifle. We are just going to go out and start slaughtering them effing N-words, he said. Wipe them off the effing map, Piner said. Jesus, African Americans, that'll put them back about 4 or 5 generations. Piner, a Wilmington police officer since 1998, began the recording by expressing his fury about the ongoing protests against police brutality and racial injustice in the wake of George Floyd's death. The officer Piner was speaking to, Officer James Brian Gilmore, hired by the department in 1997, said that whites were now worshiping blacks, adding that he'd seen a video of a fine-looking white girl and this punk pretty boy bowing down and kissing their toes, whatever the hell that means. Later, while complaining about a black judge whom Moore, another officer, called an effing Negro magistrate, God damn it, Moore added, "It's bad, man, because not all black people are like that. Most of them," Piner responded. 90% of them, Kevin, 90% of them, Moore said. Soon, Piner turned the conversation to his belief that the Civil War was imminent and his intention to buy a high-powered weaponry. After saying he was ready to slaughter black people, he added, "God, I can't wait." As I believe that local news report stated, this audio came to light by chance. It was a part of an internal, regular, routine review where this audio was captured when they were sitting in squad cars talking to each other. How much more is out there that wasn't picked up in basic internal review practices? How much more?
Shortly after George Floyd's death, my oldest son, who is in college, opted to put up a BLM sign. We live against a fairly major street in Thousand Oaks, and it wasn't a big sign, but it obviously caused big controversy. The first sign simply said BLM. A very straightforward message that is a very important message. It was up for a matter of days until it was stolen. I happen to have like 2 extra security cameras laying around, and we put those up in trees over a new sign. Still, like even with those up, the next morning we looked at the cameras and the sign had been stolen. I think when he was putting it in the back of his pickup truck, he had noticed that the cameras were there, and he left, and then we see him come back on the camera, and he had folded out that sign and the other sign and had placed them back where they were. So my son's like, "What's going on here?" And he called the police, and the police came the first time and said, "Hey, there's not much you can do." Like, you know, the guy brought back the signs, like, yeah, maybe it's destruction of property, which we had zip tied it up. So I was like, you know, whatever the cost of zip ties are, but they said there's really not much you can do. In the meantime, we put up another BLM sign that was stolen the next night. And as you can see from the videos, they were continually stolen and stolen and stolen. The anger that these people have for a sign is just so shocking, and it's sad, you know? When the fires hit a couple years ago, we put up a sign thanking the local firefighters, and that sign was larger and it was up for months with no one saying anything. This one, immediately the HOA reached out to us through its attorney, and he told us to take it down. The message they're sending is that free speech isn't accepted in our community, and support for an important issue isn't accepted in our community. If you saw that stretch of fence, you have no idea why they care about those 3 little letters. You know, they brought their measuring tape and they were there for like an hour, and you could hear them. I don't think they realized there was audio. You could hear them talking about things they could say to us to force us to take the signs down. They think that this is like a joke, when obviously this is important. It's disheartening to know that there are still, you know, people out there who don't understand like what BLM means and how important it is.